Hello, and you're very welcome to the Townhead podcast. It's season 3, episode 39, and it's a 5-star performance from Dundalk tonight in the most unlikely of 5-star wins to go through tonight's amazing victory. We'll bring in Gally.
Evening.
Not often we get to be on part of a 5-studded performance from Dundalk, so we'll definitely take this.
It's rare, yeah. Pats, is that the last one we did? Pats earlier in the season? That's probably it, yeah. And that was a flash in the pan. Look, we waited. Look, it doesn't have to be 5-0 either, but it's nice to, and it's the first time I've been in Oriel in a while, so it was nice to get up and watch and see some players in action and the likes of Durant and stuff. And yeah, really, look, without even being outstanding, a real solid performance. And I think after the last couple of weeks and cup defeats and last week as well, I think probably badly needed for everybody. A good crowd at Oriel Park. I don't know what the numbers are. Probably a quiet crowd, maybe, I suppose, on a Monday night, but definitely a decent number for a Monday. But yeah, look, overall, albeit started slowly, but an overall, solid performance. I don't think they'll have too many issues, too many complaints. Look, Cork are probably on the poor end of the scale, but I mean, look, they've had decent chances, decent kind of glimpses of something there, but they're a real. Look, it gives me great pleasure for us to call someone a real poor team, but I think they're really, I know it's a 5-0 win and we're not going to take anything away from the boys, but Cork are really, they're a cut behind everybody else, I think. But yeah, look, cracking win. Got to take it as it is. 5-0, fantastic on a Monday, all lead up to the Loud Derby on Friday.
Yeah, you'd wonder if everything in the cup has probably been a bit of a distraction for Cork at the moment. Semi-final on the horizon, stuff like that. Monday night game in Oriel Park probably didn't suit a lot of the players tonight for them. To go back to ourselves then, so as per usual, there's a couple of changes in the starting lineup. Good to have Darren Brownlee back. I suppose I recognise centre half back in to defence, and surprise, we go and keep a clean sheet. But Durant gets a start for him, and it was a pretty impressive performance by him.
I thought he was excellent, and it's the first time I've seen him live because, like I say, I haven't been up in a while, and it's hard to tell in the game because you're not obviously the camera only picks up what's happening on the main focus, but to watch him on the pitch tonight, like, I mean, he loves the touchline. That's where he is absolutely running.
And a good shout as well, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
I kind of messaged into our group that, it's like watching Darryl Hogan when he came onto the scene. Now, I'm not saying he's that level, but he has that little bit of excitement when he gets the ball. A real solid performance. I thought himself, Hogan, Illy Coco together they were all kind of hanging around the left-hand side of the field for most of the game, regardless of where the play was. But Durant in particular for me was really, look, there's some fantastic performances. We'll get into that. But yeah, really good because, because we had some loan signings during the year and, we players in like Rayan and stuff like that. And it didn't really work out. We were always worried, we're going to get a winger in. We're going to did we have too many wingers at one stage, with John Martin playing outside as well. But I think Durant for me tonight was excellent. Yeah, really solid performance. Just gives you something a little bit different. I look at, I still think Ryan O'Kane's a better player out there, but I mean, I think definitely an unknown entity for Cork tonight. Watching him stand Durant play, and I thought he was excellent. Like himself and Hogan worked really well together. It was interesting to see Hogan even playing really far up the field. Kind of almost. It almost looked like 4-4-2 for a lot of it. Hogan playing just off the striker, but kind of like a free roll nearly, but. Yeah, really strong. Look, there's still probably issues that, little silly pass and, probably needless silly pass at the times. But going forward, that's his best I've seen us going forward. I know, look, albeit it's Cork City, I know, but probably the best I've seen us going forward in a long time. Really strong. Probably lucky we could have scored 7 or 8.
Yeah, I don't think it probably wouldn't have even flattered us either because they just seemed at 6 and 7 in defence tonight. And just Frank Harlan with a comment there, what a night, 5-0 win. Drugs beat Pats, amazing goal in that for the winner for 2-1, if anyone gets a chance to see it as well. Yeah, Rooney, hell of a strike. Bows and shells only drawn. It's like, it just keeps opening. It's like this European door does not shut. Sure it won't. Like this season of massive inconsistencies, it's, every time it's just like a little tantalizing tease. Here we go again. It's like, the lights that come on in the nightclub, you're standing there by yourself, you look around, there's a doll holding your hand, you're like, hang on a second, what's this? You know,
The Ian Holloway of Dundalk podcast.
It's madness, you know. But you know, and Frank goes on, you know, just to say, you know, a good result, good performances. Durant was brilliant tonight, and we found a new central defender in Sloggett, exceptional. I think actually Greg had a very
really
good night tonight.
strong. Really,
there was
really
one
good.
over the top for him, which was kind of how Pats played against him, and he looked a little bit dodgy on that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I thought he was brilliant at carrying the ball out, which kind of let Brownlee hang back and just do the harder defending then as well. And Sean Newman with a very impressive performance tonight. And great that other results went perfectly for us to still all to play for, which is probably the real thing as well. Like we're like we actually thought this end of the season was going to fizzle out. Now it's, you know, slightly ajar again, and you're kind of thinking, Jesus, do you want Pat now to win the cup?
Exactly. Yeah. You're like, you know, we were all, look, obviously the last couple of weeks have been very downbeat, but I mean, and look, we've look how we rode off the season. Probably most people have, but I mean, when you need luck like that, we need a few more. We need one more away on Friday.
Well, you still have to play Bowes and you still have to play Shells.
Exactly, and this, I'm hoping we just don't, you know, look back on this show in a couple of weeks and go, oh, do you remember we were talking that crap? You know, like we're hoping we get
the lights will come off again.
And look, if we go out and get a result now, a positive result against on Friday night again in the Loud Derby, you know, it really isn't. It's really all to play for. Obviously, you're looking for a bit of results against us, but you know, it could be at a stage where it's in our own hands. I mean, that's, you know, if you'd took it a couple of weeks ago, you would have bit your hand off. And like I say, we've got Bowes to play, Shells to play. So you know, it's there. You know, could you kind of compare our performance against tonight and apply it to Shells and Bowes? I think so. I mean, I don't think Cork are great, but I think the positivity from the lads going forward, I think Durant at his best is going to be a handful for any fullback. Horgan back to his best. Well, not back to his best, but I mean, you know, probably could have had a hat-trick tonight.
Yeah,
really sharp,
plenty of contributions tonight.
Coco excellent. Yeah, Archie Davis was excellent, some bits as well. But yeah, look, I think the positive for me was, albeit it's 5 goals, it's what we could have done. You know, we have that instead of sitting here and saying what we could have done and it's 0-0 or it's 1-1 or we'll bet. It's what we could have done even after 5-0. You know, like, you know, Cork might have had a shout for a penalty laid on, but apart from that, there's nothing really. You know, we've 1 or 2 great saves from Sheps.
Yeah, Keaton's one off the crossbar. I think that was the closest.
That's probably as much. Yeah, that's probably as close as they came, and that's real positive going forward. But I thought, like, on the ball, pass, and definitely going forward and at pace, we were top class tonight. Really, really top class. The boys were absolutely run ragged. 1 or 2 silly little passes from the back out, but look, I mean, it's 5-0. You got to take it.
Do it in that for a performance. And it seemed like, you know, we had some good set pieces. You could see what we were trying to do in each core, but it definitely seemed like it was going textbook in exactly the way Stephen would have wanted it to go. Or set pieces, we were aiming just to bypass that keeper, but put it in close inside the 6-yard box into a crowded back post, and that's exactly where Muller is for the first goal. You probably can't believe that it's just landed on his head like that, and it's just an easy nod.
I can't remember who jumps with him. I think there might be 1 or 2 jumping forward, but I don't want to call it a free header, but he seemed to rise so far above everybody else. I mean,
but I think Coleman is like the other side of him, or it's Durnan. It's one or the other, but like they're trying to jump around him, but past him, so he has to jump straight up, and he's got to clear
any kind of connection at all. The keeper's lost, no man's land. Any kind of connection, it's in a great side, and probably up until then, you know, you can look at the crowd maybe, and it's a bit flat. The game was probably a bit flat in general, but you know, I think without sounding cliche, it needed a goal or a fight or something. You know, a bad dodgy tackle, something like that. But it needed that little bit of goal. But I think once the first goal went in, we flicked the switch. It was dominant then. I think we really were dominant. Without even being that outstanding, I just think it was dominant from start to finish then after that. But like that, the goal from Muller, simple ball in, simple header in, and it's kind of what almost broke the ice for the game, and that's what really opened it up then and we can really get at these now.
Funny, I actually thought it nearly took the second goal for that to kick off. So there was a sense of expectations maybe for the first goal that we had so much possession. We were dominating in the game, and the set pieces, we were getting kind of good crosses into the box. There was a string of a couple of corners in a row and things like this. And I just thought, there's an expectation that we need to score a goal here. Towards, I thought the second goal came just from us putting pressure onto them, took an early throw in, you know, Horgan runs onto it, Hoban gets in the mix as Horgan's trying to advance with the ball. It hits off. I think actually it was Dernan, the defender, who knows nothing about it. And the next minute, it comes straight back in. He's trying to get it back to the keeper. It loops up, he heads it back to the keeper, but Horgan never stopped his run and does that diagonal run straight across in front of the keeper, which you're trying to draw a foul from the keeper, or you're going to get yourself in the head. He gets himself in the head, finishes the ball, and it's an exceptional finish. I think after that, then we started seeing kind of Sam Durant started turning it on. He was, nutmegging players. There was rules over, right up to his injury. I thought Paul Doyle had a decent game tonight as well. We're unfortunate. That's probably the only blot tonight I would have thought was the injury to Doyle that he had to go off. But real good performance. And I thought at 2-0, the crowd kind of started getting in, started singing a little at that stage, and in particular, then when the third one then comes after that again, it's like, right, this is.
Do you know what it was as well? It's the first time in a while I've watched Dundalk, and we've spoken about it before, and we've gone up 1-0 up in the game. It's not like we're cruising, but it just looked like we were never going to get better. Now I know, look, the standard. Look, we can talk about Cork and how poor they are, but we weren't even at our best. But it was the first time we kind of, I won't say comfortable, but it looked like, right, we're going to put on a show here now. It's Monday game. It's, I don't know what the crowd, they were a little bit flat, but I think, obviously it's a pity nearly to see Cork where they are, because that was the big game years ago. It's not that long ago. These two teams were going for the title, but I think the game, it warranted probably a few more goals, probably a few more tough tackles as well. But it was just great to see us going ahead into a lead that it didn't look like we were ever going to surrender. Yes, Cork could have maybe grabbed the goal. They probably had to shout for a penalty with a high foot. He might have got a kick in the forward later on in the game, but it was just great to watch a team play. It was almost, it was just simple, fluid football, pace, attack. It was just never like, when you consider the chance we missed. I mean, Horgan should have had a hat trick. Durant could have got another one. A couple of shots blocked by the defender, the right back. It was just great to see that we have that little bit in us. What you hope now is that, I seen a tweet earlier on that, has it been always there, or is it just the opposition? You're hoping that it's not the opposition. And even if they play to maybe 80-90% of that, you can get at teams now over the next couple of weeks. The game's only going to get tougher as they go. Draw is definitely a tougher game coming up on Friday night. Like you say, with Bows coming up, Shells. I mean, even if you take, like, to where we are on the season now, I think it was said on the Tannoy tonight, it's our penultimate home game on Friday night. I mean, we're so close to the end of the season. They really need to start.
Yeah, it's only the Bows match after that.
Yeah, they really need to start picking up some points. And I think that is would be as confident maybe of a 1-0 or 2-0, even a performance tonight. No, I think the fact that we put in so many goals, we put in a good shift, we could have scored more. I think it really elevates the team now for Friday night, and the fact that we don't have to wait a full week. But it was great to see that we just didn't surrender what we had, and it never really looked like we would either. And that's, it's been probably a while since we've been able to say that.
Yeah, that's my only fear is, we did open the door twice. For Rory Heaton. One, it's a good save, double save from Shepherd. One, he pushes onto the post and it goes back in the header, and then obviously the one off the crossbar later on. I think at Pats at the weekend, we kind of gifted those opportunities, and Tommy Lonergan, took them. I'd love us it's just that little niggle of presenting opportunities. I fear if we present those to Drogheda at the weekend, will they give us 5 goals in the same manner that tonight? I wouldn't have thought so. Like you said there now, it is a step up. But if we can take the positives from tonight, then I think you're looking at a lot more confident Sam Durant. You're looking at 100%. You're looking at Horgan kind of back in the mix of goals and being in the right positions to make things happen. John Martin back with another goal, and he can be very streaky.
Yeah, I think he hit the post as well.
One and another
post as well.
Yeah, but he tends to get a couple of games in a row.
Yeah.
So that's good form, and and the fact then Muller with another goal, but you could say he's probably been a little up and down on his performances this year. So it's good to get that, and another solid display by Archie Davis. He was nearly turning it on at the end there.
Absolutely.
He was full of running and stuff like that. It's 3-0 at half time, Gally. It's I'm not surprised Darrell Horgan didn't go mad kind of celebrating this one or ever, because he's clearly putting the header back across goal again, and Coleman tries to defend it and he puts it right in the bottom corner past it. At that stage, at 3-0 coming into half time, you could just see Cork were deflated.
Yeah,
at that, I think they had expelled as much as they could in previous games and in cup matches and stuff like that. So
and it was really getting to the aggro between the centre backs and the goalkeeper was just. No, don't get me wrong. Sheps gave, I think it was Brownlee later on in the game, gave him a right bollock in the second half, even though we were 3-0 up at this stage. But there was just that little bit of, not naivety, I suppose, at the Cork, but they were probably just run ragged with the two boys, and I think probably it was more probably tiredness, even though it's still in the first half. They probably the heads just probably dropped for a little second. Like that goal there was probably very schoolboy stuff, but there was that little what crept in then was the goalkeeper and the two centre halves. They were just killing each other then for some of the game. It was just like any chance to come in, they were absolutely hammering each other. So I don't know if it was just an issue there with lads getting fed up, but I mean, we took complete advantage of it, and we haven't done that all season. We haven't spotted those little areas where a bit of weakness in teams, and it's not that we haven't spotted them, we haven't really taken advantage of them. And tonight we did, and like you said, it's great to see Horgan getting his chances and taking those little bit of opportunities, and we're getting that little bit of luck as well with headers and stuff. Albeit, Rory Keaton's probably the only real shining light for Cork tonight. Probably maybe the full back as well, but it's just. Yeah, like Jason says there, we were content and not seeing, and that's what it was, and that's what if we perform like that and it's only a 1-0 win, it's still great. But the fact that we've gone out and finished and played and probably could have scored more and lit up Oriel Park on a Monday night after last week, that's what you got to take away from you. 5 goals. Look, those 5 goals could come in very handy later on. We don't know what the way the points are going to go. We just don't know. But and a clean sheet as well.
As a confidence booster, I think that's
absolutely.
That's the real thing. Yeah,
and like the beauty of it was for me is that you can take off the likes of Pat Hoopin.
Yeah,
you can take him off, and with and comfortable knowing the next half an hour, and albeit it is half an hour of football, anything can happen. But it was never like we could have stopped the game at half time. There was never any real threat, and it would just look like a different team. Albeit I will stress that it is Cork City, but still, look, you got to beat what's in front of you. And look, it was a real confidence booster now going into the Friday night, and. I'm delighted it's just not a week away now. We've only got a couple of days to get straight back at it. Now, look, we could be sitting here Friday night saying, what the hell went on during the week? Yeah. But I just think it's exactly what's, like Jason says there, we've been shipping City goals and it's absolutely crazy at times. I think we got, is it 7 in the last 2 games, something like that? What are we looking at?
Yeah, it would have been.
And then we go to a clean sheet tonight. It's a nice wee change, a nice wee turnaround, and it's perfect timing for Friday night in the Loud Derby.
Yeah. So we're into the second half, and anyone that questions Sam Durant even starting this game, and and whether he was getting into the right positions or his passing was off. I mean, anyone who was there tonight, but it's a fantastic goal. He picks the ball up on the left hand side, cuts in past one player. It looks like he's held on to the ball just a little too long.
Yeah.
But with that, suddenly 2 defenders come towards him, and he realizes he can take them on, goes around the long way and bends it in just as the 3rd defender is coming out. It looks like he pretty much took on 5 defenders and goes past all of them the long way.
There was an almighty groan, just when you say he looked like he carried it too far. Like to go from one side of the box to the other. When he got to kind of around the deep, people were like, oh, he's going to have to go out wide with this now to Archie Davis. But then the fact that he got the turn and shot, and like, he was due that. I mean, look, it was excellent. But like, I mean, albeit Cork let him run, but you shouldn't really let a player like that run at you. But he well deserved, excellent goal. I mean, a real, like you say, a real threat, pace. Yeah. Look, I mean,
it's the thing that we've always said, like run at defenders in the box because they're scared to tackle, and that's exactly what he did. He just kept running with them, and it's kind of like the more he brought with him, the less somebody could actually dive in because there's too many bodies in the way. And that was a complete block then for the keeper as well. Like I say, he ran from one side to the other. He got about halfway around, and you're thinking, just lay it off now. You've done enough.
Yeah.
Get to the back post, get to the front post on this, and try to get something on it. But fair play to him. He had the confidence to go on. And to be fair to Durant, it's probably in the back of his mind, he's probably thinking, 6-7 games left. I have to prove myself here. If I want to stay on at this club or I'm going to do something else, I have to do it now. I'm getting a start. Here's my opportunity. And to be fair to him, I think he took it tonight. Absolutely. I thought he had top-class performance tonight, exceptionally well played, great taking goal. like I said, he definitely had chalk on the boots.
Absolutely. He definitely, like, he loves the way. But I mean, if that's where he's going to be most effective, and look, he could probably play right across the middle like Darrell Hogan as well. But for me, you know, it's when you've got an option like him, Dickie Kelly, albeit John Martin's not a winger at that option as well. Ryan O'Kane, I mean, Durant done himself no harm tonight whatsoever. I think I really, really impressed him. First time I've really got to see him up close. I know, look, it's very difficult on the telly because you don't get to see him off the ball, so you know the camera's not panned on him. But
it's really, the longest he's also the longest run he's had in that team as well.
Yeah.
So it's a real good chance to see him tonight, because we've seen substitute appearances, and sometimes coming in, chances are this year we've been chasing games and bits and pieces. And it's hard to get up to speed on bits and pieces. Like we've seen him at the Bray match in it, but the conditions that night really didn't suit anybody. Never mind his way of playing football, you know, getting it down and having a run at people and stuff like that, hug the touch line and try to get the ball out wide. I think this just kind of suited him a little bit better. And tonight, the home crowd and everything like that, the space that Cork were giving him also kind of.
Absolutely. I mean, they were actually backing off him because they actually couldn't go to him because he was so fast. Like, well, there's no point me running to him because if he skips by me, he's in. So he actually got the run of maybe 30, 40 yards around him at one stage with the ball. And that's a sign of a great player that's having a massive effect on the game. And look, it's great to have that kind of option. That's just not Darrell Hogan and Ryan O'Kane at the minute.
Like you say, we probably haven't been in this situation that many times, Gally. You know, we're talking just over the hour mark. We're 4-0 up. We can afford now to take Darrell off, take Pat off, and you know, we're strengthening up. We're bringing Ryan O'Kane in there and Cammy Elliott, who, you know, we're trying to get minutes back in his legs since the injury that time as well. He was unlucky with the one that came off the post then as well. Yeah. You know, that's probably the only thing he was missing tonight was a Cammy Elliott goal, just to get him back up with a bit of confidence as well. But to get 30 minutes in both Ryan and Cammy's legs tonight, that was important too, because I think we're going to need players like that till the end of the season.
Absolutely. And how many times have we spoken about, like, we could call every podcast substitutions, you know, like we've given out about it. We've praised some, very few, but there, you know, a lot of them we've given out about, and to have that kind of luxury for once of, you know, like, to be honest, I don't mean to sound kind of feeble about it or kind of just blasé, but you could have made any sub tonight. It wouldn't have been much of a difference. Like, we could have, you know, we were that confident and that well drilled tonight, and, you know, playing that well, you know, we could have actually changed pretty much anybody. But it's nice to give the likes of a Pat Hoban a break. Darrell Hogan probably annoyed he didn't get his hat-trick. He's coming off, but I
don't know if he claimed that second one, would he?
No, he might not claim. I don't know how far.
No, I don't think he would
from the stand, but he wouldn't be happy with claiming that one anyway.
No, I think he was going back across the goal with his header. Yeah.
But look, I mean, to have that luxury to take, and like, I mean, Ryan O'Kane to come on, Cammy Elliott, like Ryan O'Kane, like, you know, that's your starting winger probably on his day. Like, to have him, to have that option of, you know, I would have been interested to see if he'd have started the game, would have he had the same impact as Mullen, because they would have seen Ryan O'Kane play a lot more. But yeah, look, great to have that luxury coming off for once. And, you know, substitutes are correct, because the 11 on the field had done exactly what was asked of them and probably went beyond expectations. I don't think anybody had been, you know, that kind of result tonight. We'd like to win. Any kind of clean sheet win would have been great. But look, it's great to have that option coming off. And, you know, that we get all to send a Mullen as well. But, you know, it's great to see those type of players getting a run, and even getting a break ahead of a loud derby. You know, like, it's rare you get that kind of break up to a game like that. And that's, you know, it's a positive night all around, really, for everybody.
Yeah, well, look, it was something that we talked about on Saturday with Niall Newbury, that is this the time now, between now and the end of the season, to start having a look at a couple of these players. So we did see Anthony Mayo on the bench tonight and Senna Mullen on the bench as well. But Senna did get on. You know, he had the guts of probably 20 minutes nearly on the pitch, including extra time or added time. But he looked impressive. He didn't look out of place. He was calling for the ball, took 2 or 3 big hits as well, straight on. He was only on the pitch not that long, picking up a yellow card and stuff like that. I love to see that, just players who can immediately adapt to the pace of the game. And he got into it. And I thought he acquitted himself really well. We've seen him pre-season once or twice playing in defence. I think we've seen a little bit more offensive look to him tonight. He was happy to carry the ball and bring it out. But his stature, he looks like he's grown as a man now nearly. and into it. And I just thought, this could be something we might just have. Even Stephen O'Donnell in his post-match interview was quick to call out saying, and he said this wasn't a token throw sending in for the sake of it. He told him earlier in the week to keep an eye on the game, keep an eye on opportunities within the game, and when he believes he'll get a chance in this, he will get it. But he needed to go out and kind of prove it. And I thought, for Stephen just to even call that out and say this isn't just a token. Hey, you're playing well, and the other teams, hey, have a go. Like this was a tactical way he wanted to bring it in. That's brilliant for him.
Yeah, I see them warming up, and I kind of thought, geez, like I'd seen him play for the under-17s on a live stream before, and he was kind of built and kind of, real kind of, he almost a Gary Deegan, that type of midfielder. Mm-hmm. But he must, obviously because he's young, he must be 6'1", 6'2". I don't know the stats on him.
Yeah, he's a giant for that.
Moves like, and I didn't want to be smart. I put it into the chat. If anybody's a Newcastle fan, he moves and runs like Sean Longstaff. I think
he looks like
that. I don't know what the contract situation with him is, but I think we're looking at one of the top midfielders we've had at that club. Mm-hmm. Now, I've only seen 20 minutes of this for live in Oriel Park, but he covers the ground as well as Chris Shield ever covered it. Now, I'm not trying to compare, but I think we've been looking for someone like that for a long time. It's frightening how he hasn't played more. Now, look, I'm basing this off 20 minutes, but if anybody was to come on a field and watch a player and how like you said there, he's offensive. He could nearly play centre-back. So he's absolutely... Yeah, but to me, I was surprised how quick he was across the ground, how attacking he could be. I think this kid could have. Jerry Arrowsmith, Dean's father had him at Coot Hill till he was on the 14s, I've been told, so he might be the better man to talk about. But this guy he could have everything we're looking for, and it's frightening how he hasn't played before. Now, look, he's got bit parts maybe, but he looks like a real top player. His movement. His pace for it, like I know he's so pacey for a tall man. Like his pace is frightening. He covers the ground so well. He was only on the pitch 20 seconds and he got stuck in breaking up play. Yeah, I think this kid could be really, really top class.
It was just that I think Cork were trying to counter attack, and Senna got in there, stole the ball, but his first thing was to carry it into space on the pitch. And suddenly allowed the players to move off around him, and he offloaded at the right time. But then he continued. Once he had offloaded the ball, he was still looking for it back. He was still hungry for it. I think that's the sort of thing that Stephen O'Donnell would be happy to see, because you could say, look, you're 4-0 up when you're bringing him in. Talk about the most ideal situation. But the fact that, like you just said, physically, athletically, he looks like he is capable at that level.
He looks like a footballer,
He does, that's what I thought as well. He physically looked like a footballer, like an athlete on it, which to opposition players, he doesn't look like a young player who, one big hit and is gone, because he took a hell of a clatter on the edge of the box and he got himself straight back up. Yeah. And I just thought, wow, it shows a lot of maturity for the lad then as well. Because the clatter of that echoed around Oriel Park at one stage, and I went, I hope that he doesn't shy out of the game. And he didn't. Yeah. He continued on in this kind of positive way, and I just thought it was ideal. It was an impressive debut, I would say, for the young lad, and it can only do good.
And look, and in fairness, not to go on the flip side of it, we've had some impressive days. We've seen players come in, play well, and it just hasn't worked for them. But I really don't see how this doesn't work. I text into the group after he was only on the pitch 5 or 6 minutes. Like, this boy is like, we've been looking for a Chris Shields. Now, I'm not saying he's a defensive mid, but he can do everything. He seems to be able to do everything. Now, look, it's 20 minutes. We've heard great things about him from Tiernan and the lads in the background, and he's been an Irish international. I think he might have captained the under-17s at one stage. I'm not sure. I could be wrong on that, but he looks the real deal. I'm sure plenty of clubs have been looking at him as a youngster, but I don't know what the contract situation is, but I really hope we've tied down a player like that, because now, look, you can't hold him either, but I hope I'm expecting to see a lot more of him even before the end of the season, and if not, he's got to be in there at the start of the season as one of the, that's in the squad. He's got to be in there for me. I just thought he was excellent. I know, like you say, it's the 4-0 up, it's Cork City, I know, but you're bringing him on.
You'd like to see him get a couple more opportunities probably away from Oriel Park now as well.
Yeah.
Like I said, we've only got 2 fixtures back in. But if he could get a taste of football in a Loud derby as well, that might be interesting.
Yeah,
just to see how that.
I put him up against Gary Deegan. No problem. But like, I mean, would you if you look at someone like, I mean,
well, if you want to have a go at Drogheda, it's the one thing Ryan Brennan and Gary Deegan won't give you is pace.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So how you counteract that is you do have someone who's a ball carrier who can break up their play as it comes, and it has a bit of pace to set up things against. So yeah.
Yeah, I really thought he was sensational. I know people might think, "Oh, you lads, you're off your head. It's only 20 minutes," but I think that's as good as this 20 minutes I've seen off of young Flynn Oriel Park. Probably, I don't know, Mark Griffin. Like, what are we talking? Like, probably Ryan O'Kane.
Ryan O'Kane's one in the,
yeah. I mean,
Ryan's
that regular now. I forget he's still a youngster. For me, I was unbelievably surprised. And like I know it's definitely not a token. I mean, that kid can play. There's no doubt in my mind. And I know, like, people had spoken about, players gone by and certain players went to draw and over the water then, and he never really got a sniff at it, but Manny and that. But I don't know what the contract is. I don't know if Dean Auersmith's his agent or anything, but that kid he's got to be playing regular. Like, I think he could
be interesting. How much minutes do you think can Stephen O'Donnell give him between now and the end of the season?
Well, I mean, you'd like to see something similar like tonight.
And you're looking then possibly at the UCD away at the end of the season. Like, what's the play for in that game?
That's it. I mean, that
could be a real opportunity.
But I mean, like having that coming off the bench, like he looks like an all-rounder. He looks like he can play centre back. He's probably quick enough to play full back if you need it. He's definitely a baller in the middle of the park. Like, going forward, like you said, offensively, it's unusual to see a player like that going forward with that stature, that kind of height. I think he'd be a nightmare to deal with. And do you know what's mad? He was pinging the ball with both feet. Now, I know as a professional footballer, you probably have to be as well nowadays, but so comfortable, like
on both sides,
really frightening. I'm just shocked that we haven't seen him earlier in the season. That's not
considering we've had injuries in the middle of the park too. That's probably been the strangest.
We've had injuries at centre back, I know he's been on the bench.
Well, that's what we thought could Mayo
once or twice, but yeah, look, and I don't want to be like I went on with this with Ryan O'Kane. That's it. Yeah, you mentioned last week, and it's probably the time to give these youngsters a run, because you've not, well, I know, like, with the way the results go, but you've almost got nothing to lose. Definitely as an option off the bench, 100%. I think he could be real quality, real asset going forward.
Yeah, that could be why. Yeah. Barry Sen's only coming back from injury.
His agent, 10% off.
I think Anthony Mayo can probably found himself unlucky tonight.
Yeah.
The main thing for Stephen O'Donnell was probably to get minutes into Cammy Elliott's legs tonight. If there was another time where if Cammy wasn't available, or maybe if Cammy had already started and the game had gone the way it was, I think you might have seen Anthony just actually get a run out tonight as well.
Yeah.
Because of that sort of game, it was calling for somebody. But from the goals or whatever we've seen from Anto already, probably too similar to Cammy. So it was only it was one or the other was going to get a run out. And between now and the end of the season, he's probably hoping he can get more out of Cammy.
Yeah, I think the fact that Cammy's been on the kind of the cusp of it all season and just hasn't really got going. I think he probably deserves a crack at it. At that kind of scoreline, because there's time for Mayo to get involved. But then, like you said, once you put Cammy on, unless you're going to take Cammy off, you're not really. You got to make that kind of decision. And yeah, it is a pity. But I again, he was warming up, so he obviously had an idea of putting Mayo on because he was warming up on the sideline. But yeah, it's just I think it's just a pity that I think if Cammy had probably a more goal scoring season, you might have got the option of Mayo coming on as well. But I mean, you're right. I mean, you need someone like Cammy who got that, that full-time footballer that he's been there, done that, scored goals. You need that's to be your option really coming off the bench. But yeah, look, I think it's only a matter of time before we see a couple of minutes for Mayo as well. And look, it's great to just have these options. I mean, that's what we've been crying for.
Yeah, but I think this is different. We will be definitely going back into the loan market and things next year again, and we'll probably be looking at the UK again for pulling talent from. But I think it'd be excellent if there was an opportunity for these guys to just get some football now, so we can see them in that environment, in the senior environment. Can they handle themselves? Because I think the one thing we've all taken from tonight that Zenin can clearly handle himself at this level. We're not talking the top end of the table teams either. It was a poor Cork team tonight, but in a sense, that's where you want Zenin to be able to come in and play in this game.
Yeah, and build it up.
Now, if we look to him for the draw in a match, he'll say, "Well, I've already got my debut over. I've already had a positive impact. Let me have another positive impact on this game." And you're growing the confidence in the young lad. And you'd hope that Anto Mayo is probably looking, going, when's my chance? And you want him knocking on the door to gaffer. You want him annoying people saying, I want to go, I want a chance in here. Look at me warming up. I want to get in here. That's the hunger of the young lad you need in there. It wouldn't be a game if we didn't have an Archie Davis assist. Kind of, if we win, if we score, what has Archie Davis done? So Archie picks up.
He's the new Darren Meenan.
Yeah, and what I felt so strange was when the ball comes out to him, he's kind of he kind of stops the ball, rolls it forward, and still no pressure on him. And as soon as he done that, I went, John Martin's going to come in on the end of this, because this is trademark John Martin. When Archie Davis has time to swing in a cross like that right onto his head, he's a habit of finishing. And it's been a good goal return for John Martin this year, but that's the sort of service he just absolutely loves.
Yeah, and it was almost like Cork had forgotten who the fullback was. It was like they took them a second to go, right, that's Archie Davis. You need to close this fella down. You're right. It was like
he had the freedom of Oriel to
absolutely
that ball.
The ball, they know what they're going to get. If they've done the homework, you're going to get a whip ball in, and it's going to take everybody out of the game. And if all we need is somebody to get on the end of it, I mean, they're always going to be decent crosses.
And you don't want a hungry John Martin running through the middle with a small Cammy Elliott who's come on, kind of suits his game.
And that's it. We're even talking early on in the first half. They gave him so much space to cross, and they already know he's quick, he's paced, he's going to get forward, he's going to attack. But they give him so much space to cross, it was frightening. He was able to just literally stand and pick his spot every single time. But again, look, like you say, hardly a game goes by when he's not heavily involved in something. And it's hard to believe I hammered him first game of the season. I really have to clip that bit. That's going to go in the end of the season highlights, because I destroyed him after the first game. But he's been sensational. He's right up there for player of the season. He's been phenomenal signing. Definitely. I mean, we're looking through the signings. He's got to be right up there with the best. Probably the last 2 seasons, really. He's been phenomenal.
Well, it's funny, him and Lewis McCarry have probably been outstanding candidates and signing both in the same position. It's a strange one. But in a probably season where not all our incoming players have all hit the ground running, he's definitely been the exception to the rule. And you can see he has senior football ahead of him. For me, a lad who's still quite young, is open. He can stay for another season or two with ourselves. Yeah, because if we can start to build a real good team there, that'll only benefit him. Because you see tonight, and you mentioned already, in an attacking point of view, and it's not something we've done too many times to too many teams, is really attacked at numbers, at pace, and with some aplomb tonight, and that frees up the likes of Davis standing behind that to just kind of take time and pick this, because the opposition is retreating back and giving him, and the more space you give Archie Davis, like you say, for that cross tonight, the worse the outcome's going to be for you if you're an opposition.
Exactly. And even in the he's laid on 2 in the first half as well, and we just haven't got to them. I mean, it's crazy. Like, if any coach coming up against us over the next couple of weeks watching that, if they close him down now, hopefully they don't. But I mean, he's phenomenal. Like, his strike of a ball across is serious.
It's a thing with him as well, though. When he gets the ball, if he receives it from his centre backs, he laid the ball into the middle. Immediately he's looking for an overlap. Yeah, he wants to get down that sideline. He wants to take on. He's one of the few players at the club, I would say, who's really wants to run at people. is happy to run at them, and there's a fair chance at times that he will have to beat the players, and it's good to see that sort of confidence in a player. It's good to see like I say, another assist, and you'd be hard pushed to probably find another player. I'd say okay, he did get player of the month from the 1903 this month, and you can see he's probably a shoo-in for player of the season. I think he's been the most consistent. He's probably been the most consistent player, and that'll probably end up, doing it for him.
Yeah. I don't think there's anybody probably been, even on bad nights, he was probably a 7 out of 10. More weeks than not, he's probably an 8 or 9. I think he's and we kind of had this argument at the start of the season. I felt Muller was going to play right back. I just thought he looked like a more accomplished fullback. But what would I know? Archie Davis just hit the ground running. There was 1 or 2 times when he got in ahead of Muller and just took his opportunity. And you can't, if he's not playing now, we have a problem. We probably have an issue, because we don't have that outlet then. I mean, we look for defense wise, Muller's not bad at fullback, but I mean, for that whipping in those crosses, it's a real issue then if we don't have him. But yeah, he's become an essential player. Like you say, Lewis McCarry was last year, started slow, but then just completely took over the position. Lewis McCarry is probably one of the best fullbacks in the league last year.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of, I don't really think anybody really was as good, but Archie Davis come in again this year and just been absolutely phenomenal. Probably done a little bit more, probably assist-wise than McCarry has, but absolutely sensational, yeah. And I can strike a ball, kind of like Sam Bone almost has a good strike of a ball. Probably don't see it enough. Yeah, real solid performer. 8 most weeks out of 10.
Look, we did get Darragh back on the pitch as well tonight, and it's probably important that we will need some sort of left-sided player at some side in defence before the end of the season. So look, I think that's probably another highlight from ourselves, and then I think the only other thing of note then obviously was the other one off the crossbar from Rory Keaton later on. If you're from a Cork point of view, has the whole cup thing probably slightly derailed them, that it's taken their focus off the league? And the last thing, like you could see it from, if you even look at last season's relegation playoff, UCD just hit a bit of form running into that, and when Waterford finally got from going through the different rounds, they got to play 3 games before they finally play UCD. UCD had come off of, and where they actually had picked up some results again.
Yeah.
Any of these playoff games, it's all about form, kind of when you're coming into it. And I fear for Cork that unless they go and win the cup or get to the final, it's going to be a hard slog to them. And then the last thing you want to do is be out of form going into a relegation playoff.
Yeah, I think they played Shells last week and played really well. From the looks of it, they played really well. And it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe that they did. If I go back, if I'm thinking back, probably the last 2 seasons, overall, they're probably the worst team I've seen play at Oriel Park. And I see the bad UCD play a couple of seasons last season. They just seem to be lacking. I don't want to be harsh. Apart from Rory Keaton, I mean, the fullback whose name completely escapes me at the minute.
That King Coleman?
They're just not. I mean, the keeper's okay, apart from hammering his centre halves. Yeah. But they just don't seem. They're just not the Cork you're expecting. I mean, I'm not saying they have to be.
I know you think all the managerial problems and everything else this year.
It's just you would never.
You can't have that in the season.
No, and only for you're looking at the Crestons, you would never think it was a Cork City team, and it's such a pity because you want them in the league. They're too big to be and I don't want to be disrespectful. They're too big to be playing first division football. Same with Galway United after coming up. You want these teams playing. You wouldn't be traveling to these games away from home and getting them involved. And the fact that they're in a cup semi-final is mad enough. That's crazy stats. Now look, probably people from outside Dundalk probably would have said the same about us, but like you say, that going into a playoff, anything like that, come at the end of the season, if you're in bad form, it doesn't bode well generally. Usually, look, the playoff example there is Waterford. Over the last couple of years, Waterford, UCD, it's a pity for them. It's almost I don't mean that. It's almost sad to see, but when we're winning 5-0, it's great. But it's against a team like that who's given so much over the last couple of years. They're so far removed from what. And I can understand why Buckley doesn't want the job or isn't getting the job. They're mad looking for someone. It's just there's a complete rebuild needed there. And look, if they go and win the cup, it'll probably be it's right up there with. God, I mean, I'm trying to think of maybe Sporting Fingal. But, you know, like that's what you're talking about. That's kind of the level of. I mean, Draw had a couple of years ago, maybe.
We won't pass the win the cup now anyway. So
it's probably up there with maybe Longford. You know, that's the type of surprise it would be.
Well, look, at least their semi-final is in the Cross as well. I think Turner's Cross, the atmosphere and everything else. That's
electric. Absolutely, it's such a
but when they play away from it, I find they're a bit. There's something lacking definitely amongst within that team.
They've got a massive gulf today, really, really massive gulf. Like you know, really, they weren't at it at all. And like I know they had probably a dozen, maybe 15 fans come up. I'm not even sure, but that's a hell of a trek home. You know,
from going from a team tonight, Gally, that you know probably lacked a bit of urgency, lacked a bit of commitment, lacked a bit of guile and hardness to try to play around. It's going to be a different run-in on Friday. Loud Derby, you know, we have got the luck, let's just call it that, in Loud Derbies this year. They're after going to Inchicore tonight and getting a win, and you've seen what happened to us in Inchicore only on Friday. So that's no mean feat. We're talking, you know, back with another Brennan and Gary Deegan, you know, a cracker from Dale Rooney tonight. Like they have, you know, Foley up front. Jesus, he loves playing.
And they always up the game. The Draw are always that team that.
Kevin will have them absolutely wired and ready for this.
100%, especially at Oriel. Like you probably don't need to G them up as much for a Loud Derby at their own pitch. But when they're coming up the road, they'll be motivated. They'll be ready to go. You know, they'll be probably thinking about it straight away after tonight.
Like the opposition's not going to roll over as easy as it was tonight.
Absolutely not. And I think it'll be electric. I think it'll be probably the game of the season. You know, fans-wise, you know, kind of electricity in the air. I think it's going to be a big, big game. It's massive now because of the way the results went tonight. It's a huge game now. Like nothing but win will do. You know, that's we gotta win all the games and. If you want to have any kind of chance on that, but I think it's going to be a massive game. It's probably you're probably looking at in terms of what Dundalk want to finish, and you know after tonight's results as well. It's probably the biggest game of the season now. I know we've had a quarter-final against Galway, which you probably think, but it's massive, and the fact that it's at Oriel Park after tonight's result, you know, nice little turnaround from the cup and the defeat of Pats. It's a big night for everybody, and you've got to pack it out and absolutely, you know, get the place absolutely lit for Friday night for these boys. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great to strike with Frank there as well.
Yeah, Frank just said that, you know, Friday is the 120th anniversary foundation of the GNR team, which is, you know, what Dundalk SC is built upon. So, you know, the club's hoping it's going to be a special night and we'll get everyone into the ground early, a couple of special guest events. And so I think that could
probably give a shout out as well to Jerry Curtis. I was talking before the game. He gave a ticket for me, and 70 years of his first game tonight, and that's an incredible. Like, I think I'm going 20 something, like nowhere near what Jerry's doing, but absolutely unbelievable. I seen the stat from James Rogers earlier that I was talking before the game, but really, look, happy anniversary, Jerry. Brilliant stuff.
Happy anniversary.
It's great save to the club. But yeah, look, that's even more with Frank's out. That's even more of an incentive to get up early. Have a drink before in the Lily White, get the atmosphere going. Yeah, brilliant. It all bodes well for a good night. Just no rain, you know. Then again, the pitch could be watered a bit more. Looking at it tonight, Jesus. But
poor Jimmy Fisher put about 10 hours into that pitch. Get it right.
Look at it. It's in better nick than we talked about a couple of weeks ago. It looked like something that was laid 45 years ago. But look, get it nice and slick. And it'll suit the way we played tonight. Durant, they're going to rely on that slick pass, you know, quick pass, and Hogg and Durant. Yeah, it all bodes well for a big night.
Yeah, just looking at Friday's fixtures, you know, Derry at home to UCD, Shamrock Rovers at home to Shelburne. Like that, you know, potentially, you know.
Is that on telly, no?
If it's not, it should be.
Yeah, really should be, yeah.
Yeah,
That's massive.
We're not covering it for Virgin anyway. Ourselves, obviously, and Drogheda United. Bows at home to Sligo, who picked up an unlikely win against Derry recently enough, and Cork at home to Pats. Like there's like that's obviously a dress rehearsal for the semi-final too.
I mean, if Cork could sneak something, if they could hold tight and sneak something there, and then Shamrock Rovers, you'd be expecting Shamrock Rovers and Shelbourne to be an absolute.
Well, I think bar maybe Derry at home to UCD, none of them are a gimme.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that's why you're hoping there you had a wee bit of luck at the draw. Now, obviously, we have to do what we have to do at Oriel. But look, it's I don't want to say it's set up nicely. I mean, it's not ideal to be in this position, at this stage of the season anyway. But I mean, a bit of luck and a bit of favours, maybe that Cork team can kind of up themselves after the night and probably looking for really a defensive display for them against the Pats team. But look, we just have to beat Drogheda. But look, it is the fixtures are kind of falling nicely. There's a nice bit of competition for people around us. So look, it's hopefully we can do the business on Friday night and kind of make it a game for the next couple of weeks, make it a festival. Yeah,
look, and I think that's it. I think it's getting that time of the year that every game probably has something on it, and especially when you've got anybody above you now, just looking for them to drop some points. And like I said, the most important thing is that we're in a position to take advantage of that. And the only way we do that is put on a performance like tonight, and you're not going to get as many opportunities or votes, but if you perform like that with the confidence we had and tackling a pace, I think that's the way to play it. Gally, look, we've probably done this one to death tonight, but that's it. Thanks as always to our sponsor. We'll go back on Friday. We'll do our usual match competition. So thanks everyone for all the comments tonight. To Player Fit, obviously, for the merchandise that you're wearing tonight.
Yeah, I went old school. I can't find the other one.
There we go.
Old school.
Perfect. Yeah, I better not show mine. It's work stuff though. It's fine. And of course to Dundalk Village and Dundalk Green for the overall sponsorship of the podcast. It's on back to Oriel Park again for another Loud Derby. Now we're throwing in the 120th anniversary of GNR. It's all coming together nicely. It's brewing in a witch's cauldron coming for Halloween. Soon, I don't know, that just came. I shouldn't have bothered. But until then, come on to town.